classic political contrast. Al Gore saying he's the candidate of experience and that his time in the Clinton-Gore administration makes him uniquely qualified to be president.
I'm proud that I stayed and fought against the Gingrich Congress. I'm proud that I was where I think the American people needed a lot of folks to be, fighting against that, preventing them from shutting down the government.
Bill Bradley, on the other hand, took a more classic underdog role. He said that he wasn't someone who's been in Washington for the last few years, not part of the problems in Washington, and in that way, he can change things for people who don't like the way things have been working in Washington.
And when I hear you talk, Al, it reminds me of a Washington bunker. And I think you're in the Washington bunker.
And finally, the two candidates talked about a range of issues, but the real issue for a lot of voters is going to turn on personality. The person who's going to be the Democratic nominee, maybe the next president of the United States, is someone who's going to appear in the living rooms on television of Americans for the next 4 or maybe 8 years. And the question of who people feel comfortable with, whose personal style they like, will probably matter as much as anything else over the next few weeks and months. Mark Halperin, ABC News, New York.
Well, Vice President Gore got a boost before the debate with an endorsement from Senator Ted Kennedy. At a Boston appearance together, Kennedy praised Gore's, quote, experience and wisdom, end quote. Kennedy served in the Senate with both Gore and Bradley. As for the Republican Party, as presidential candidates hold their own debate tonight in New Hampshire.
6-year-old Cuban immigrant Elian Gonzalez apparently will be heading back to Cuba. U.S. immigration officials said yesterday that the boy should be returned to his father by next Friday. Elian was picked up Thanksgiving Day, as you recall, off the coast of Florida. Cuban Americans protested the announcement outside the Miami house where Elian has been staying with relatives. But the Immigration Service said the decision is in line with the U.S. law.
This little boy, who has been through so much, belongs with his father. We urge everyone involved to understand, respect, and uphold the bond between parent and child and the laws of the United States.
Elian's American relatives are asking Attorney General Janet Reno to reverse the decision and could also appeal it in court.
Well, the government has done a complete 360 on the issue of applying workplace safety rules to home offices. A controversial advisory letter that came to light this week has been withdrawn. Here's ABC's Jim Sciutto.
The Labor Department's advisory, which was issued in response to questions from this credit services company in Houston, had in effect held employers responsible for the health and safety conditions of their employees who work at home. A front-page story in the Washington Post Tuesday spotlighted the letter, which was greeted with a barrage of criticism, and then some backtracking from the Secretary of Labor.
It is not intended to have general application, however, for all employers.
The backtracking was complete as Secretary Herman withdrew the letter, saying it had caused widespread confusion and unintended consequences. The reversal leaves the nearly 20 million Americans who work from home regularly without a clear idea of what their employers are required to do for them. Secretary Herman said she will convene a national series of meetings of business and labor leaders to help draw up a policy tailored specifically for telecommuters. Jim Sciutto, ABC News, Washington.
A discarded cigarette sparked a huge fire on the roof of a Philadelphia skyscraper at the height of the Wednesday afternoon rush hour. Nearly 1,500 people had to evacuate while firefighters battled the flames. They brought it under control in less than an hour, and there were no injuries. President and Mrs. Clinton will wake up in their new home this morning. They flew to Westchester Airport outside New York City last night and drove to their new house in Chappaqua for their first night there. While the president finishes his term in Washington, Mrs. Clinton will spend her time in New York preparing for her expected run for the Senate.
It's going to be kind of weird to, it's going to be sort of strange to be in a new house like that after living in the White House, you know?
And not, yeah, 8 years in the White House, and before that, you know, a long stretch of years.
Do you think it seems much smaller to them? Do you think they're just like sitting around going like, geez, this is tiny?
Exactly. I'm sure they would get lost at the White House all the time, but now it's like, you know, even though it's a big house, the house in Chappaqua.
Do you think they're saying, we need more shag rug over here? Do you think? Probably.
They're redecorating as we speak right now.
That's right. Lots of shag, more shag carpeting. Let's take a look now at the weather.
Lava lamp.
Most of the country will enjoy. That's right. I want a bachelor pad. Enjoy a dry, sunny day, but in the northwest, a big storm is brewing. Temperature, that was their decorator, by the way.
Right.
Temperatures are just what you'd expect for January. Chilly readings in the north, warmer toward the south, some beanbag chairs and such. Here's a national temperature index, some local forecasts, and pictures from
World News Now Sports, brought to you by Excedrin.
Football now. In the NFL, the axe is bound to fall after 3 straight losing seasons, and yesterday it fell right on New Orleans Saints head coach Mike Ditka. The team's general manager was also fired. Ditka had bet the team's future on rookie running back Ricky Williams, but Williams was injured most of the season.
I really thought that we would probably get another year to try to get it on track, but I understand fully. I mean, you're 3-13, fellas, and you have the expectations we do. You bring in Ricky Williams, and it doesn't work out. I mean, we got to be realists. I mean, and I don't like it.
Unfortunately, in this business, if you don't win enough games, then there are days like this.
We tried, we didn't get it done. That's the bottom line. When you don't get it done, you're going to get out of there in a hurry. And I love the city. I love the fans. I love the organization. I wish them the best, and they deserve a winner.
Ditka says he won't coach anywhere ever again. The cheerleaders from a Long Island, New York high school have won a national competition. So from WABC TV in New York yesterday, here is Marcus Solis. Sis, boom, bang.
They're the varsity cheerleading squad at Longwood High School in Suffolk County, and they're simply the best. This 2-minute, 26-second routine won them the World Cheerleading Association's national title in Nashville last week.
A lot of pressure to do your best, and you have to do it the one time that you're out there, you have to nail it. You can't describe the feeling. You really can't. It's just great. You work so hard, and to win, it pays off.
The team was judged on dancing, tumbling, stunts, jumps, pyramids, even eye contact.
That was nice and high and straight. Point your toes. Okay, let's go.
Of course, being this good doesn't happen by accident. The 22 girls and 1 boy practice 2.5 hours, 5 days a week.
I do just for the feeling of kind of self-pride, knowing that you're good at something and trying your best. I mean, you work so hard all summer.
Winning isn't exactly new to Longwood High, which has captured 5 national titles since 1988. This year, though, there were injuries to overcome and illness, too. 7 girls came down with mononucleosis. Even during Thursday's final routine, Danielle Petticourt, who was battling the flu, threw up on stage.
Still went through with it? Yeah. How come? For the team. Because we work so hard all year long, can't let them down.
I felt like we were turning our obstacles into stepping stones in a way because they're so determined, and I've always told them talent isn't enough. You have to have the will to win and the drive, no matter what obstacles come in your way.
The championship may be won, but there's still plenty of cheering left for the Longwood squad. Basketball season starts tonight. In Middle Island, Marcus Solis.
Woo! Yes! You would make a very good cheerleader.
Oh, I was a cheerleader for years in high school.
Uh-huh. Was that before or after your Pro Bowl days?
It was before Pro Bowl and right before, and like 2 years before
Did you
Golden
actually
Gloves.
play and then run to the sidelines and cheer for yourself?
But I had to change into the skirt first.
What have you got? When we come back, the best of.
I'm Claudia Marshall. Here's the latest from ABC News Radio. Asian markets are taking another hit. Japanese stocks ended today down 2%, while the Hong Kong Hang Seng was off more than 4%. Traders were dumping high-tech stocks. Now that the INS has decided to send Elian Gonzalez back home to Cuba, the boy's American relatives have decided to go to court. And they say they haven't told the boy about the INS decision either. Monica Lewinsky may be a celebrity now, but lest we forget she was fooling around with a married man, some Jenny Craig operators are refusing to run the former intern's TV ads for that diet program.
She comes with a certain amount of infamy in her character that I don't think is necessarily positive.
David Leahy runs a Jenny Craig franchise in Chesapeake, Virginia. Lewinsky is supposedly being paid $10,000 for every pound she loses. I'm Claudia Marshall, ABC News.
You know, today is a very special day here in this business we call show. 8 years ago on this date, a ragtag band of overtired, over-caffeinated ABC employees put on a little show, a show we like to call World News Now. That's right. So in honor of the people who put the show on every morning, here's a look back at one of our very favorite moments in TV history.
Ladies and gentlemen, from New York City, Joe Garagiola!
Our first guest today is part of a trained act in the circus, and let's meet him right now.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Wally Norton Jr.
Number 2,
My name is Wally Norton Jr.
and number 3.
My name is Wally Norton Jr.
Okay, here's what Wally Norton Jr. has to say about bears. I, Wally Norton Jr., am the world's youngest animal trainer. The animals I train are bears. I got into the act accidentally when I was 2 years old, and my parents couldn't find a babysitter. So in order to keep an eye on me, they just put me on a bicycle with the bear. I now appear with my parents in their act, the world's largest display of uncaged performing bears. Take a look, and here you see my father teaching a young cub to somersault. Now, their tricks include riding motorcycles, doing rollover somersaults. I tour with the Circus Vargas, the world's largest under-canvas circus. Signed, Wally Norton Jr. We're going to start with you, Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, how old are you now?
I'm 10 years old.
And number 2, are you 10?
Yes.
You go to school?
Yes.
Are you taught at home, or do you really go to a school?
Oh, I'm taught at the circus.
At the circus?
Yes.
And number 3, are you 10?
Yes.
Was that your mother who was doing somersaults with the bear in the film we just saw?
Yes, that was my father.
That looked like a lady.
I mean, that was my mother.
That's your mother. That's what I thought. And number 2, when you were put on the bicycle with the bear, do you remember that incident when you were 2 years old?
No.
Oh, so you don't know whether you were frightened or not?
No, I don't.
Buzzer, let's go to Bill Cullen.
Number 2, does your father look like your mother? That was your father also in the picture that we saw, number 2. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, number 2, were you ever afraid of bears?
Yes, I was.
Are you still afraid of some bears?
No, not really.
Are all bears safe, number 2?
Some are safe and some aren't.
Let's go to Pat Collins.
Number 2, other than Joe's hand, what does that cute little bear eat ordinarily?
Well, for treats we give it dog biscuits, but it eats fruits and vegetables.
No meat?
No.
No. Now, has a bear ever turned on you, number 2? Has anything dangerous happened to you?
Yes, a bear once scratched me.
How did that happen?
I turned my back on the bear, and it scratched me on the back.
Is that a rule number 3, never turn your back on a bear?
Not really.
And number 3 looks like somebody threw a hat up and he just walked under it, doesn't he? Let's go to Nipsey. Nipsey.
Number 1, what's the place on the circus where they keep the animals called?
In a truck.
In a truck. Number 2, the restroom is called by different names in different places. Like in the Army, it's called latrine. What do they call the restroom on the circus, on a circus lot? Do you know? Number 2?
Bathroom.
Yes.
That's it, Nipsey. The game is over. With the answer of truck and bathroom, we now must go to voting. Do you think it's number 1, or do you think it's number 2, or do you think it is number 3?
I think it has to be number 2. I mean, he just looks right. He just has the bearing. Oh, that was so terrible. I'm so sorry about that. Well, don't you agree? I think it's number 2.
Okay, Nipsey, you're the tiebreaker.
You see, number 1 is playing the game with us, and number 3 is a political speech writer. I went with number 2.
All right. The votes are all in, and we get to ask that great question. Will the real Wally Norton Jr. please stand up? Oh, it's number 1. He's standing up. Let's find out who these 2 great imposters are. Number 2, what is your name and what do you do?
My name is Anderson Cooper, and I go to Dalton School, and I'm in the 5th grade.
5th grade, okay.
Let's have a big
big round of applause for Anderson Cooper, who's no longer 10 years old and no longer attends adult
I cannot
school.
believe you guys found that. That
You
is
had
incredible.
a major face-off with Nipsey Russell.
Oh man,
He
it
almost
came to fisticuffs. But yeah, Pat Collins was on my side. Thank God for Kitty
definitely.
Carlisle Hart.
You got the most votes, though.
He did. You know what? And you know the prize. I mean, today, you know, you get $1 million. You know what the prize was? $50 worth of Sarah Coventry jewelry and some turtle wax.
What did you do with the turtle wax?
I don't even think I got it.
Now, what possessed you to go on that?
Both my brother and I won. My brother played the world's youngest tennis player, and I was the world's youngest bear trainer.
That's great.
Yeah.
So the question is, who is? Let's see it again. This is
Wally Naughton, the world's...
Who is Wally Naughton? And who's this guy?
My name is Anderson Cooper, and I go to Dalton School, and I'm in the 5th grade.
I was drunk.
5th grade, okay.
I got to get you that hat again.
More news coming up.
We'll be back.
That was great.
That was great. It seemed like everybody was making predictions at the end of last year. I restrained myself from joining the fray, but now I'm ready to put my psychic powers to the test. I'm seeing, well, it's a little fuzzy. I'm seeing Anderson in a purple hat. No, that was the last segment. I'm seeing Anderson and an accordion. Anderson getting accordion lessons from Barry, maybe. Wait, I'm getting another image. It's George Watson.
The hazards of making predictions about politics or anything else came to mind yesterday as Republicans celebrated, if that's the word, 5 years of power in Congress. Remember back then, Newt Gingrich was king of the Hill for the first time in 40 years. Republicans held a majority in the House. The contract with America promised sweeping, even revolutionary changes. Few changes, however, took place. The Republican majority was reduced, and Gingrich himself, well, Gingrich nowadays is the skunk at Republican picnics. First, the former Speaker of the House resigned after losses in midterm elections 2 years ago. Then a messy divorce exposed his philandering and left him portrayed as the moral equivalent of Bill Clinton. Morals aside, political differences do remain. Yesterday, both congressional Republicans and Democrats held powwows to plot their strategy for the new session. Nobody anticipates that anything much will be accomplished, especially because it's an election year. But who can say for sure? Just possibly, there could be a few surprises. Clinton is looking for something to leave as his legacy. Republicans need something, besides impeaching Clinton, to point to as an accomplishment. That could open the door to compromises in the interests of getting something done for a change. Perhaps a modest raising of the minimum wage, or maybe some kind of patience Bill of Rights. But I wouldn't want to make any predictions. This is George Watson in Washington.
I'm still getting over the To Tell the Truth
Well,
segment.
George Watson was on To Tell the Truth.
No way.
No.
Now, did you know what to say? The answer?
No, you made up most of it. You know, you knew a little bit.
So you can lie with the best of them.
Well, you know, it
with
serves
a
me
smile
well.
on your face. Elian Gonzalez is ordered back to his father and back to Cuba.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Now.
The boy's American relatives vowed to fight to keep Elian in the United States. Hello from New York this Thursday morning. I'm Juju Chang.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Anderson Cooper. Also, in this half hour, Juju will do some more training and straining with a little help from a friend. And the business news from London. We begin, however, with the custody battle over that little Cuban boy.
Many Cuban Americans are very angry with U.S. immigration officials. In Miami last night, there were more protests at the house where 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez has been staying with relatives. The protesters oppose a decision by the Immigration and Naturalization Service saying Elian must be returned to his father. Here's ABC's Beverly Lumpkin.
The INS chief said it had been a difficult decision and a complicated case, but ultimately,
INS has determined that Mr. Juan Gonzalez of Cuba has the sole legal authority to speak on behalf of his son, Elian, regarding Elian's immigration status in the United States.
The U.S. decision that the father should have custody clears the way for little Elian, who was found Thanksgiving Day clinging to an inner tube off Miami, to be returned to Cuba. Miami relatives who've been caring for the boy were distraught.
In Cuba, he's not going to have liberty. He's not going to have a life. And that's what we're offering him here.
Some in Miami's Cuban-American community demonstrated outside the INS office and around the family home where the boy has been staying. Lawyers for the Miami relatives said they would not immediately file a lawsuit to block the return, but would seek a reversal from Attorney General Reno or President Clinton. But Commissioner Meisner asked that all involved remember one thing.
This little boy, who has been through so much, belongs with his father.
The INS has advised both Elian's father and the Miami relatives that it wants to arrange for the boy's return to Cuba by January 14th. Beverly Lumpkin, ABC News, the Justice Department.
New Hampshire voters had the chance to make another side-by-side comparison of Vice President Gore and former Senator Bill Bradley last night. The two candidates clashed on health care and let a few sparks fly on other issues. Here's ABC's Ann Compton.
In the 1 hour-long New Hampshire debate, there was no real blood drawn. There were some strong moments and perhaps even some uncomfortable ones, especially when the candidates tried to question each other. For instance, Senator Bradley went after Vice President Gore.
And I think that the major objective in the last several years in the White House has been political survival. I understand that. But the reality is the Democratic Party shouldn't be in the Washington bunker with you.
There were not a lot of light moments in the debate, although Vice President Gore did try a touch of humor on his opponent.
In New Hampshire, the polls say that you're ahead. I'm asking people to give me a come-from-behind upset victory here. And the only way this proposal would work for me is if both of us gave up the little 30-second, 60-second answer.
Your underdog pitch brings tears to my eyes.
Well, I hope that my upset victory brings tears to your eyes.
Any surprises? Probably not, but there were some issues that were never really broached at all, including education, although we had been advised that education would be something that Vice President Gore would try to bring up. But maybe it's understandable that they couldn't get to all those issues in 1 hour. In fact, this is a month packed with presidential debates when you include the Republican contests, including the Republican one coming up in this same location just 24 hours later. There are 5 debates in 6 days this week alone. Ann Compton, ABC News, in Durham, New Hampshire. The Dow Jones Industrials may have recovered yesterday, but so far Asian stock prices have not. The Tokyo market fell 2% today, and Hong Kong was down even more sharply in early trading. On Wall Street yesterday, the Dow was up 124 points, regaining more than a third of Wednesday's losses. But the Nasdaq ended a volatile day with a loss of 24 points. With more, here's ABC's Betsy Stark.
The Dow did recover some of its losses, but it was another rough day for technology stocks. And what buying there was selective and conservative. Money went into oil stocks, utilities, chemicals, food stocks, stocks that tend to do well in a healthy economy, but by and large have been left out of the record-breaking run of the last year. The feeling here on Wall Street is the next big test for the market could come on Friday when the December jobs report is released. If those numbers are much stronger than expected, you could see a fresh wave of interest rate jitters and a fresh wave of selling.
That was ABC's Betsy Stark. The immediate future of interest rates will be decided when the Federal Reserve meets at the beginning of next month.
U.S. officials are pressing Israel and Syria to come up with new ideas that will speed up their negotiations in West Virginia. Israel is expected to eventually relinquish control of all or most of the Golan Heights in return for peace with Syria. At home, Israel took one more step toward peace with the Palestinians. They completed withdrawing from another 5% of the West Bank.
Well, President and Mrs. Clinton are beginning a new phase in their lives, a commuter marriage. They arrived at their new home last night in Chappaqua, just outside New York City. During the next year, Mrs. Clinton plans to spend much of her time in New York getting ready for her expected Senate run, while the president finishes out his presidential term in Washington.
It's nice to see that they're settling in.
Got a lot to do?
Sure.
Well, the Asian markets are doing pretty badly overnight.
Yeah?
They lost Hang Seng in Tokyo lost 7% yesterday, and they lost an additional 3%. That's 10% in 2 days. And they didn't recover despite the fact that Wall Street did. So a lot of jittery financial news overseas.
Absolutely. Thank God I've invested in Pokemon cards. Time now for a look at the weather. The Northwest will be stormy with heavy rain along the coast and the snow in the mountains. Dry and sunny in most other places.
Pikachu.
Temperatures are seasonable for January. Chilly readings in the north, warmer moving south. Here's the National Temperature Index, local forecast, and a New York beach in winter.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Yes, your love.
World News Now weather, brought to you by Time Life.
So warm, and your cheeks so soft.
Well, Football Hall of Famer Jim Brown has been sentenced to 6 months in jail. Brown was convicted of vandalizing his wife's car during an argument at home last June. In that case, he was sentenced to community service and to accept domestic violence counseling. He did neither. So Judge Dale Fisher sentenced him to 6 months in jail. Brown has accused Fisher of being biased against men and especially against black men.
You cannot take my dignity. You cannot take my manhood. 15 years, 20 years, 27 years Nelson Mandela spent to fight apartheid in South Africa.
Brown remains free pending an appeal. He says he'll serve the 6 months with pride if he loses that appeal. In hockey news, the Rangers had gone winless for 7 straight games. At home last night, they went to the last 34 seconds of overtime against Toronto. Then the Rangers came down ice. Adam Graves took a pass and scored past Curtis Joseph to win it. 3-2. It was his 14th goal of the season. And in Illinois, an incident right as a high school hockey game ended has left one student paralyzed and another on trial. The story from Dick Johnson of WLS-TV.
With his parents behind him and attorneys on either side, the 15-year-old who's charged appeared nervous as he heard what could happen to him if a Lake County judge finds him guilty of aggravated battery.
Range of penalties is anywhere from supervision, which is a disposition akin to probation, what's commonly known as probation, up to incarceration until his 21st birthday.
New Trier High School student 15-year-old Neil Goss is paralyzed from a cross-checking incident at a game November 3rd with a club from rival Glenbrook North High School. The question is whether the injury happened as part of the rough contact game of hockey or if it occurred just after the buzzer, and whether it was done intentionally or by accident. There is no known physical evidence either way, nor a videotape. Just one side's witnesses against the other.
There are many, many differing accounts honestly being related by a number of different people who were there and remember the best that they're able what they saw. What they saw clearly was at the end of a game, and I believe what they saw was something that occurred in connection with the game, not outside the parameters of it, and something that was not undertaken by any means with the intent to injure.
Like in any case, either a judge or a jury has to make a decision on the ability to observe of witnesses, their recollections, motives they might have to testify. I imagine that the judge will do that in this case as he would in any other case.
You know, Jim Brown was in the movie On Any Given Sunday. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, he plays like one of the coaches.
The Oliver Stone movie. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was all right. It was, you know, it was kind of easy on the eyes, very easy to watch. A lot of, you know,
For an Al Pacino football movie, you like it. That's a thumbs up.
It just brought back a flood of memories of my days playing ball.
That is sports for this half hour.
And when we come back, working up a sweat at World News Now.
Working. There's Willis. Woo! Go Willis! Woo-hoo!
I'm Claudia Marshall. Here's the latest from ABC News Radio. The traffic in Miami may be messier than usual this morning thanks to anti-Castro Cuban Americans planning a traffic slowdown to protest the INS decision to send Elian Gonzalez back to his father in Cuba. Child psychologists are weighing in, among them New York University Dr. Harold Kopowitz.
He appears to be very happy, but I don't think we should underestimate how traumatized this child is.
The boy's Miami relatives say they have not told him the INS is sending him back home. It's another down day on Asian markets, with the Nikkei losing 2% of its value and the Hang Seng doing even worse. The Democrat presidential candidates debated last night in New Hampshire, everybody agreeing on at least one thing, that gays should be allowed to serve openly in the military. Meantime, Al Gore's California campaign chief has quit just 2 months before the California primary. One national poll shows 3 in 4 voters don't know who they'll vote for. Claudia Marshall, ABC News.
I've just heard some very disturbing news. 95% of the World News Now staffers have now given up on our New Year's resolution to eat less junk and do more exercise. That leaves just me and Willis and Donna. And we're trying to be strong while those around us are just crumbling left and right. So here to help us stay strong is Jill Gilbert. She is a trainer here at Equinox. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning.
Help.
What would you like to know?
Well, what should we do to keep active and start an exercise program?
Well, the best thing you can do is really set some goals for yourself. And you can do that just by taking some baseline measurements to find out what you need to do.
Okay.
It could be your blood pressure. It could be your body fat measurement, your weight, your girth measurements. All these things will help you set some goals.
A girth. That's a little frightening.
Girth.
Okay.
Right.
Let's start. We're going to do a circuit
We're going to do a circuit training.
What is that?
Circuit training consists of maybe 7 to 10 exercises that you do in a row, each one being 10 to 15 reps. And you do the entire circuit, and then you repeat it 2 more times.
Okay, so we have Willis here who volunteered.
Right, Willis.
And Donna, what should we do?
Okay, we're just going to start out with a little warm-up. Your warm-up at home could be anything. You could just be, wow, great music. Could be going up and down stairs.
Rather cute.
It could be jumping jacks.
And that helps get your heart going?
Yep, you want to warm up, you want to break a sweat. It usually takes about 5 to 6 minutes for that to happen. We're not going to take that much time. But part of the circuit is going to be this.
Okay.
Knees up, stomach's going to be tight.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
The next thing we're going to do is go right into a squat.
Okay.
So feet are hip distance, and you're going to push your hips back. Good, bending the knees, and then come up. And that's a squat, your basic squat. Why don't you try a squat on your balance stick?
Oh, sure.
Adding another measure of difficulty. Good job.
And where do we get?
Okay, so feet flat on the floor, put some weight towards the back of your feet. Very good, nice job.
And what does this
Keep
do?
going. You're strengthening your legs, and in your case, you're also working on your balance and your coordination. Bring your shoulders back and chest out. Good job. Let's do about 4 more.
Okay.
Nice and slow. Good job, Willa. Good.
Now, do we have to have tough goals when we do stuff like this?
No,
when you
actually,
start an exercise.
you want to set some short-term goals and some long-term goals. 1 more.
Okay, next.
Okay, push-ups.
Push-ups.
Let's take this out of the way.
Okay, what are examples of short-term goals and long-term
Come on,
goals?
drop
Push-ups,
it.
Willis, drop and give us 20.
You can do a modified push-up.
Oh, girly
like
push-ups
Donna
like this?
Yes, definitely. Well,
Girly ones.
you can do modified or traditional. Good job. Nice
For someone
form.
like Donna who wants to start an exercise regimen, how do you do it?
Okay. Grab a friend, just get off the couch and start moving. Walking.
Keep going, Willis.
Come on, Willis. Start walking, get yourself outside, maybe just start with 10 minutes. That's good. And then you can increase a little bit at a time. This is good. Just do 2 more push-ups.
Okay. Willis,
Okay, the next thing we're going to do is stay down on the ground. We're going to do something that's called core stability. You go into a push-up position on your elbows, like a sphinx. Keep on your toes, just like you do. Excellent. Good job, Donna. Hold it for 10.
What does this do?
9, 8. This is working on your core stability. So everything that has to do with your posture, your lower back, your stomach, abs, your shoulder girdle.
Go.
Good job. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Come on up.
That's good.
All right, grab your lightest weight.
Okay.
Kickball. Okay. Here we go. Let's do some reverse slides. In a little bit of a half squat. Good. Shoulders are back, your chest is out. Exactly, just like you do. Good job. Everything's nice and slow. Normally you would do about 10 to 15 reps.
And is it important for people to work with weight?
Yes, you need weight training. Why? Weight training is going to help, first of all, keep your bone density, which is important, especially as we age.
And for women especially.
Especially women, definitely. It's going to help increase your metabolism, which we like, because that means your body has to work, burns more calories while it rests. We like that. Let's do 4 more. Okay. 4, 3. When do you exhale? Out, pushing out. 2. On the exertion. Pushing out. Last one. Okay. Good job. Keep your arms by your side. Same position. Stomach tight and row. Good. So you keep your elbows close to your side. Exactly. Good job, Donna. Nice job.
Now, do you have to belong to a fancy gym like the Equinox, or can you do these things at home?
You can do them at home. It helps to have a gym because it has all the equipment that you need and all the expertise of the trainers and the staff. But you definitely can do this at home. You can use weights. It's a minimal investment. Or you can use water bottles filled with sand, soup cans, anything. Okay. Good idea. Let's do this. Everybody stand up straight. We're going to take a single leg lunge position. Like this. Yep. The front knee is going to stay right over your ankle, and you just go up and down.
With the weights in our hands. Oh, come on, Willis. You can do it.
Do what you can.
Yeah. Go, Willis.
Right.
Go, Willis.
Is it your balance?
Oh, my knee.
Ah, okay, we got the knee problem?
Who's got a bad knee?
Okay, I'll tell you what. You just stand like this.
Okay.
Can you stand on one leg?
I can do that.
Okay, as you go down, ladies, add a bicep curl.
Add a bicep curl. Wow.
Good job. And you on one leg, balance. Stand up really straight.
So we do a circuit of this and do it again?
And bicep
and
curl.
repeat. And keep our...
Good.
Wow. Well, we are just about out of time, Jill. Thank you so much.
Excellent job.
All right, well, we're going to keep our resolutions while these guys eat donuts and pig out. And we'll see who's happier at the end of the year. Jill Gilbert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Ixnay on the Onut Day. We'll be back. Stay with us. You're watching World News Now.
Thanks anyway. I was bicep. 500 biceps.
Wall Street bounced back yesterday, but Asian markets do not appear to be making the rebound, with traders dumping tech stocks today. Meanwhile, Japan is about to go high-tech with its trading system. Angela Garvey of the BBC is in London to tell us about it. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning to you. Yes, this is actually a first for Asia. It's the ECN, very well established with you there in the US. They're electronic communication networks, and basically what they allow people to do is investors to trade automatically, match their orders automatically, so really you don't need any middlemen. And this is the first for Japan and the rest of Asia, because at the moment they do trade very traditionally, and given that the NASDAQ is going to be moving into Japan come June, there's a lot of competition out there. They want to be seen to be more high-tech and basically get more investors to use their own equipment rather than getting foreigners like Americans going in to Asia and actually using their equipment.
It's not great timing, though, it seems. I mean, with the financial markets sort of doing rather poorly the last couple of days. What effect is that going to have?
It does seem very ironic, given that we've seen, yet again, huge falls, as you were reporting just earlier, on the Hang Seng, the Hong Kong index, and indeed in Japan. But the point about this is long-term. There is a flurry of activity in internet stocks, but elsewhere as well. And really, investors across the globe are beginning to, this is small-time investors now, beginning to catch up and think, yes, it's worth putting their money in shares in the Far East as well. And really, Japan and all the other countries want to get in on this act. Because the NASDAQ has led it, the NASDAQ has been moving into Europe, because it's going into Japan, really Asia wants to catch up on that. And we are going to see yet more rallies on the market, so it's worth staying in there. And Asia really wants to be ahead of the game, or at least keep up with those that have been ahead, like the Americans yourselves.
Now, I understand there's a story out of England today about overtime being good for you.
Indeed, indeed. Now, here in the UK, we have, I think, a misconception that you Americans work harder than us. Apparently, though, it's actually good for you to have 1 hour of overtime a day. Now, this is a survey by the School of Manchester Business School, and it's actually surveyed 7,000 managers across the world. So it's very, very sort of like well-based survey. It suggests 1 hour of overtime is good for you, but only if it's by choice. And would you believe it's senior managers that take the less overtime? Now, I have to say, I work pretty hard here, and I'm not always that happy about it. I don't know about you, Anderson.
All right, well, I suspect that survey was sponsored by Disney, but I'm not sure about that. Angela Garvey of the BBC.
Well, I'll leave that one to you.
All right, thanks very much for joining us. If I'm still here tomorrow, that's the news for this half hour.
More overtime. We'll be back.
The Democratic presidential contenders try to draw the line between themselves.
I'm proud that I'm...
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Now.
In last night's debate, Al Gore and Bill Bradley clashed over health care and other issues. Good morning from New York. I'm Anderson Cooper.
And I'm Juju Chang. Thanks for joining us. Also coming up this half hour, in early Y2K, the flu bug takes a bigger bite than the other bug. And World News Now on World News Den. We begin with the Democratic presidential debate.
And with less than 4 weeks before the first primary of the campaign, both Al Gore and Bill Bradley are on the attack. They battled over issues and experience last night in New Hampshire. ABC's Vic Ratner was there.
Well, it was the sharpest of the 4 Democratic debates so far, with challenger Bill Bradley accusing the vice president of being held captive to the president's scandals.
I think you're in the Washington bunker. And I can understand why you're in the bunker. I mean, there was Gingrich, there was the fundraising scandals, there was the impeachment problem. And I think that the major objective in the last several years in the White House has been political survival. I understand that.
A combative-sounding Al Gore compared what he'd been doing the last few years with Bradley's decision to leave the Senate.
I'm proud that I stayed and fought against the Gingrich Congress. I'm proud that I was where I think the American people needed a lot of folks to be.
Facing ABC's Peter Jennings and other reporters on the stage of the Johnson Theater at the University of New Hampshire, Gore also came prepared to argue that Bradley's health care reform plan was unrealistic, and that despite the backing of party leaders, he is the one who is the underdog in New Hampshire, where polls show Bradley ahead.
I'm asking people to give me a come-from-behind upset victory here.
Well, your underdog pitch brings tears to my eyes.
Well, I hope that my upset victory brings tears to your eyes on February 1st.
The 2 men face off again Saturday night. Vic Ratner, ABC News, Durham, New Hampshire.
The Republican candidates get their first chance tonight. The first GOP debate of the year will be held at the University of New Hampshire. One of the GOP candidates, John McCain, meanwhile, finds himself on the defensive this morning. McCain denies doing anything wrong when he urged the Federal Communications Commission to decide on a major campaign contributor's request for a TV license. He says he didn't ask the FCC to approve the license for Paxson Communications, just to act on it. McCain's chief issue in the campaign, as you know, is a promise to rid the government of big money influence.
The little Elian Gonzalez could be returned to his father in Cuba within the next 9 days, but his relatives in Miami promised to fight the government's decision that his father has custody of the child. And many other Cuban Americans are protesting the decision as well. Here's ABC's Dean Stanley.
The small but intense crowd that gathered in front of 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez's Miami home held vigil until well after dark, protesting the decision to return Elian to his father in Cuba. They denounced Fidel Castro and a Clinton White House they feel betrayed them.
We feel we have all been betrayed because we all came to this country looking for freedom, and this poor child did not find freedom here.
Elian's relatives in Miami vowed to fight the decision.
But his mom still risked her life for him to get liberty, and I hope that this country gives us the opportunity of knowing what liberty is all about.
The INS ruled that Elian's father in Cuba, Juan Miguel Gonzalez, should get sole custody of the child.
This little boy, who has been through so much, belongs with his father.
President Clinton denied pressure from Cuba influenced the INS.
I told you when we started this that I would do my best to keep this decision out of politics. And we have done that. We have not been involved in it.
Upon leaving his Miami elementary school Wednesday afternoon, Elian was taken to an INS safe house at an undisclosed location. Elian Gonzalez's relatives say they will appeal the INS decision, and demonstrators here in Miami say they will continue their protests in the days to come, trying to pressure Washington into allowing Elian Gonzalez to stay in the United States. Dean Staley, ABC News, Miami.
A second down day for the major Asian stock markets. In Tokyo, the Nikkei fell 2%. Hong Kong prices were down even more in early trading. This follows a day on which the Dow Jones Industrials regained its footing. It picked up 124 points, taking back more than a third of Tuesday's losses. But the Nasdaq index lost another 24 points. The Labor Department has withdrawn a controversial letter indicating that companies are responsible for the safety of employees who work at home. Labor Secretary Alexis Herman says the letter to one employer does not constitute department policy, but she says there are important questions about protections for home workers, so she plans to set up a task force to study that issue.
Well, if you're watching us right now because you woke up with a fever, you're sneezing, you're coughing, you're not alone in your misery. The flu season is in full swing, and hospitals across the country are flooded with sick patients looking for some relief. Here's ABC's Jim Williams.
In Houston, they are packing emergency rooms, and hospitals are running out of beds.
For the last 3 weeks, we've been in really a crisis situation. We've had anywhere from 6 to as many as 19 hospitals that have requested the Houston Fire Department not to bring patients because they were full.
In Milwaukee, paramedics are overwhelmed.
It's just been wild with calls coming in, both 911 calls, facility calls, private residences just coming from all directions.
At the Centers for Disease Control, they say it is too early to determine whether this flu outbreak is any worse nationally than in previous years. But many emergency room doctors are convinced that where they are, it is worse.
Our experience here has been probably the worst influenza epidemic we've seen in this last 10-year period.
Fevers are certainly persisting longer, and the patient complaints that we're receiving, when we speak to the parents as well as the patients, seem to suggest that the duration of the illness is longer than it might have been in previous years.
Though the flu season is already several weeks old, doctors say it is not too late to get a flu shot. And if you get sick, they warn, don't spread it around. Stay at home. Jim Williams, ABC News, Chicago.
You know, a lot of shows these days are trying to be, you know, converged, or trying to be internet savvy and stuff, but I dare say that no show is as internet plugged in as we are. Not, you know, you can take your Bobby Batista, your Talkback Live, whatever. I'm saying, you know, we're the most. We just received some emails, and we thought...
Are you challenging all of the broadcasts?
I'm challenging them all. You can email us directly at WNN@abcnews.com. We, of course, always like receiving your emails. Cindy just emailed us saying that she's been up every night this week. She's on disability, which we hope to get better, but she says, thank goodness for World News Now, or else she would go crazy.
And one person, John, called in and said he remembered watching you on Channel 1.
Sure.
When he was at LaSalle Institute in Troy, New York.
All right, well, thanks very much for your emails.
We should do weather now.
Oh, absolutely.
You can also check out our webcast on the web. Sure. It will be a stormy day in the Northwest.
That would be abcnews.com.
Yeah, exactly. Patches of the Gulf Coast and some snow around the Great Lakes. Temperatures are chilly in the Northeast, very cold in the Northern Plains and Rockies, 50s and 60s in the South. Here's the National Temperature Index, the NTI as we refer to it, the international forecast, and an ice festival in China.
It was very wet.
Now weather, brought to you by Best Quote Insurance. World News Now Sports, brought to you by Chevrolet.
The Supersonics and the defending champion San Antonio Spurs have both been struggling of late. They struggled with each other last night in San Antonio, in fact. This is Vin Baker of Seattle with the alley-oop pass to Ruben Patterson for the score early in the game. Seattle had the edge most of the way. Here comes Patterson again for the dunk. Hello on San Antonio's end. Tim Duncan put in 24 points. There he is, including that double effort. He also came away with the basket and a scowl. Seattle won it 99-96. Boy, that Duncan's good. What a difference Kukoc makes. Tony Kukoc returned to the Chicago Bulls against the Wizards last night. He had been out with back spasms since early November, And the Bulls, as you know, have been losing. So Kukoc, thank you, Sharon, for that assist, made his return for a hometown crowd. He put up the first 2 points of the game, and the Bulls just never trailed after that. He did get tired late in the game, but for a rusty player, he was on the money most of the night, as in that 25-point three-footer. The Wizards had a hard night and, in fact, scored a franchise low in the 76-66 Chicago win. Now, college hoops, Notre Dame was up in Hartford against number 2 Connecticut. The Huskies had beaten them badly last year, as you recall. This year, Khalid Al-Amin put on a big show for Connecticut, scoring 34 points, almost half of their offense for the evening. Notre Dame's Troy Murphy, meanwhile, was putting on a show of his own. He had 33 on the night with 16 rebounds, and he helped build an upset. Al-Amin kept pumping points in, but the Irish took it away in the end, 75-70. And that's sports for this half hour.
Sure.
What do you got?
What do I got?
You're reading the home section.
I was reading the home section all about the Lower East Side.
And when we come back?
Happy anniversary to us.
Excellent. Please.
I didn't know Elmo did that.
ABC's World News Now will continue after this from our ABC stations.
I'm Claudia Marshall. Here's the latest from ABC News Radio. Asian traders ignored the fact Wall Street calmed down. They've been dumping high-tech shares. The Nikkei lost 2% of its value. The Hang Seng dropped more than 4%. The American relatives of Elian Gonzalez say, see you in court, now that the INS has decided the boy should go back home to Cuba. White House hopeful George W. Bush is putting in his 2 cents.
I don't trust Fidel Castro. I'm not so sure this man is making the right kind of judgment in the right kind of circumstance. And I think it's a mistake for the INS to send the boy back to Cuba.
INS Commissioner Doris Meisner says this little boy belongs with his father. The first baby born in the new millennium is recovering from heart surgery in a New Zealand hospital. Officials say the surgery went well. Bad news for Al Gore, whose California campaign chief has quit. And a Democratic source tells the San Francisco Chronicle Gore's California campaign is in disarray. I'm Claudia Marshall at ABC News.
Today we celebrate an important anniversary. For it was on this date in 1992 that we, the people of ABC, in order to form a more perfect news establishment, established the polka, ensure domestic insomnia, provide airtime for George Watson, promote the career of Barry Mitchell, and secure fat paychecks for ourselves and our staff, did ordain and establish this show for the United States of America. Here are some of the highlights from the past 8 years.
Hey, news got you down? Come on, let's polka!
We'd like to welcome you to the first broadcast of ABC's new World News Now program.
We'll be here every morning, all morning, one way or another. You'll get used to us saying, this is World News Now.
You made a menopause joke. I'm sorry.
Gee, that looks silly, doesn't it?
I don't know. You know, you really don't. When you have your picture made, Aaron, you shouldn't breathe through your mouth. It's really unattractive. Mouth breathers have no place on network television.
Well, Lisa, you're the sports expert here, at least between the two of us. What do you think the Giants possibly move to Florida?
They should always use sunscreen. Aaron, speaking of sports,
Oh, my.
which do you think looks better with my jacket?
Oh, on you, they both look great, you know, because you're that kind of woman. World News Now, however, in an effort to show our solidarity with the NFL, to show that we too agree that current technology contributes nothing to life, we will do the rest of this segment without the technology available to us. It should speed things up. We'll see. Here we go. Perfect. Los Angeles Clippers are closing in on a spot in the NBA playoffs. Last night, they met the Dallas Mavericks, and they clobbered them. Here we go. Roll the film, please, if it is back from the lab. Thank you very much. It's always good. We have to get through the leader on this film. That we here would not think of letting you go without a special gift. And, David, tell Lisa what she'll be getting, please.
This is awful.
Aaron, the World News Now Home Edition is complete with everything you'll need, from news headlines to morning papers.
There's a cliche meter. Why, there are even some stupid logos. The World News Now Home Edition, not available in stores, void where prohibited by law. If you'd like Lisa's job, please send her resume to us. Send it to Anchor Search, 47 West 66th Street, Union. Hello from New York. I'm Aaron Brown.
Hi, everybody. I'm Talia Shuras. This isn't a cutout. I got the job.
Baltimore Orioles have been on a tear in the month of June. Going into last night's game of Milwaukee, the Baltimore Orioles, please, ladies and gentlemen, someday all companies will insert their logo right there on the screen, but we like to think we're trendsetters.
Good morning. I'm Talia Shuras. What's your name again?
Kevin Newman.
Kevin who?
News that ABC had finally found a permanent anchor swept Japanese viewers into a frenzy today.
Free Christmas ice cream. Oh, okay. What have you got? What have you got?
Ding dong.
Okay, couple of ding dongs. Who does he really mean?
Yeah.
That's hard. More serious, please.
That's the news for this half hour.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm here in the middle of the night. Where are you?
That's right. Charlie, Bill Ritter said that you watched this program.
If Bill Ritter is risking his reputation, not much was at stake.
Lisa, of course, was the first to leave. Remember Ms. McCready? And Aaron Brown didn't hang around. We miss his company. Boyd Matson, hey, on safari now. He's hunting the Lion King.
What do I miss most about anchoring World News Now?
Kevin finished the show one day and then just disappeared. The way our anchors come and go is getting really weird.
I know I missed something.
What's your name again?
Mark Bowen.
Oh, no.
Someone actually abducted
All right,
our own
folks, come on.
Thought it was really funny to leave this note, so we're hoping we'll get him back. But the kidnappers have sent us another tape right now.
I haven't seen the new tape.
I haven't either. We're all going to see it for the first time.
And he's taking it. Hey, watch
That was hot property, right?
Really hot property. Maybe some will be wolf. He's,
What is going on with Elmo?
I'm Elmo. Please.
I didn't know Elmo did that.
Okay, this is World News Now.
In 1992, which overnight news broadcast rocked your world?
I believe that would be C.
That is the correct answer.
Look at Dorothy there. You
Yeah.
say you run into her on the subway from time to time.
No, I did.
She always looking that nice.
She is always looking that nice. Pretty sexy.
Just dress up for us today.
Well, I did put on a bra.
You know, Diane never actually takes the bus when they do the bus tours. That's okay.
They just take that.
They fly it.
Yeah.
That Anderson Cooper, I'm coming to get you.
I'm trying to think, what is it all about? What is the meaning of the bus tour? And it was Sam who said to me earlier today, he said, you know, Anderson, it's about healing. And I think he's right. I think, and in that spirit, all the anchors, past and present, have come out to join us. There's Asha and Mark, of course. A little bit of a problem. Elizabeth still doesn't want to sit with us. But we're hoping she'll come around.
You said I didn't take the bus. What were your sources? How many sources did you have?
It was unverified, I admit. I made it up. I admit it.
Journalism school.
I know.
Back to journalism
I never went
school.
to journalism. That's the problem.
Will World News Now last another 5 years? Of course it will. None of the executives at ABC News even know it's on the air right now.
We want the bus. Give us the bus.
Misty watered colored memories.
It's true.
Give us the bus.
Get out of here, Thalia. It's my time to shine, baby. Yeah.
We'll be back. Stay with us.
Yeah. So this is the time of morning when we look at papers and stuff like this. There's an interesting thing in the Daily News. Apparently, Michael Douglas, it says here, is going to marry actress Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is only 30 years old, which is amazing. That's that shot there. You can go a little wider, I think, now, which is really cool. I mean, who knew that Michael Douglas was going to marry Catherine Zeta-Jones, you know? A lot of people are interested in it around here. So, anyway, So what do you have in the papers there?
I was going to hide under the desk, but I will tell you one thing. Here's a list of people who've been here for 8 years, given that this is the 8th anniversary.
Oh, look, it's Elvis, the celebrity.
Yeah, it's Elvis's birthday on Friday, I might point out. They're Al Ferry, Richard Zanfini, Russell Wilson, who's a tape editor, Mitch Leisner, Tony, Wendy Hirsch, Al Cohen, Donna Schroeder, and Willis have all been here for
8 years?
8 years.
That's great.
That's pretty good.
That is amazing.
The other day, I was in Times Square for the Millennium broadcast, and I bumped into Thalia.
Oh, no kidding.
And she was standing on the podium, and I waved up at her, and she waved down at me, and she mouthed the words, and I waved back to her, and I said, it was a very poetic moment.
Cool.
She's doing very well over at CBS. We love that. And all of the former anchors of World News Now are doing exceedingly well in various places.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going very well. I think I got an email from Declan Curry. I really like Declan.
We miss Declan.
Yeah, he's one of those coworkers that I really enjoy being around. You know, a lot of my colleagues, I have a great time hanging out with, and yeah. So Declan is on vacation, and he sent us an email, and he's essentially saying that he won't be back until January, and that he misses us exceedingly, end of January.
We miss Declan, too.
So he says, but that gives him plenty of time.
What?
It gives him plenty of time.
What a career.
This is just degenerating. It's just degenerating.
It's been nice working with you all. That's the news for this half hour.